Hey everyone, back on the chess video. Today we're going to be looking at a game I played against a women's Fide master, Nazrana Khan. Actually, I played her once before, and I won that game, but I only won because she timed out, or she flagged. Um, there was a forced mate on the board, and she ended up flagging, so that was kind of an unfortunate win. But this game went a bit better to my favor. So this game, she starts with d4, and against d4 I respond d5. I've been trying to work on my queen's gambit as white and as black, so I was kind of hoping she would play into a queen's gambit, which thankfully she did. So against the queen's gambit, I play the queen's gambit declined. I find that if you get into a queen's gambit accepted, typically white just knows a ton of theory, and especially against a Fide master, I just didn't want to get into like a ton of theory heavy stuff that I just wasn't familiar with yet. So she plays knight c3. I play knight f6. C takes d5. E takes d5. Bishop g5. Bishop e7. e3. Castles. Bishop d3. So far, this is just book move and theory. There isn't really anything too crazy about it. It's just developing pieces. Black looks to get the dark squared bishop developed here outside of the pawn chain. White does. Black oftentimes will develop the dark squared bishop to b4 and trade it off for this knight. For this, with her developing the her dark squared bishop to g5, I look to just block and just kind of make that pin not really an issue. Just because you can, if you don't know what you're doing, you can get into some issues, and I haven't read up enough on this opening yet. So as we go along, this is my first mistake of the game, b6. Really just sends the eval into white's favor for, +1. It's a mistake because if we look down the line, she would trade off her dark squared bishop for my knight, and then the queen comes out, and with the bishop there, threatens mate, and so you kind of have to respond with g6, and then white wins a pawn. So that's just kind of cleanly losing a pawn. What would have been better would probably be like c6 or something along those lines. The engine likes h6, just trying to kick the bishop away and prevent any shenanigans with the queen coming here looking for mate, and just create a little left for your king. But I think both are kind of pretty playable. A lot of times white will play c6, hop this knight in here, maybe like develop the bishop here and trade off for that knight, but both moves are pretty playable. So we'll go back to the game. Bishop d3. Where was I? Bishop d3, b6, the mistake. Queen c2 is a miss because, like I said, the queen could come out here, double attacking this pawn and this pawn. I end up playing h6, getting the bishop kind of a little bit off my back. What would have been better is white just trading off that dark squared bishop for that knight, because white has some pawns on dark squares and is controlling some pretty good dark squares, especially in the center. So trading off your dark squared bishop for a knight is going to be a bit better, because your bishop and your pawns would be basically doing double duty. So this bishop can kind of trade itself for a knight that could potentially be contesting some light squares. So that's why that's a mistake. Bishop b7. So what I was thinking was I would get my bishop on this long diagonal, expecting him to castle kingside. And when I hop my knight in there, when he takes, this pawn taking back can be supported by the light squared bishop. It's an inaccuracy, but not a terrible inaccuracy. So just not the best move. Knight f3, just developing a piece. Knight b to d7, just supporting this knight, anticipating that he's going to want to trade it off. And eventually I would hop that knight into e4. Castles. Rook c8. My thinking there was just to get this rook on a file that's going to potentially open. In the queen's gambit, a lot of times the d and c file get opened, so white will want to position their rooks on the d and c file. I was just hoping to kind of preempt that and just get my rook there, anticipating maybe like a c5 pawn break eventually, and just hoping to kind of put some pressure on that queen in the future. But it's an inaccuracy.
What would have been better would have been maybe like, here, looking to trade. I think it was, yeah, knight h5. I'm envisioning, yeah, bishop takes e7, queen takes, and let's see what the engine's thinking. I didn't look too much in this. Just looking to trade off that dark squared bishop and get my knight free to hop in here, maybe. But the game's about even. No one's kind of winning or losing. So rook c8's at an accuracy. Queen e2. That's at an accuracy again. Really not shifting it a ton either way. Knight b5 would have been best. Just putting some pressure there, and maybe kind of pressure there once this bishop, kind of transitions to that diagonal. But the game is pretty much even so far. Just developing pieces, trying to kind of maneuver in the middle game a bit. She moved her queen off of this file, expecting it to open, and that was my kind of goal on the next move, was c5. Rook ad1, it's at an accuracy just because it doesn't really address this pawn break that's going to be opening up. Maybe kind of pushing this bishop back a little bit. So it just really doesn't kind of help white's position at all. And oftentimes that rook will want to go to the c file, and the f rook will want to go to the d file. So rook e8, I wanted to kind of maintain the tension here a little bit and just position this rook a bit better. Just again putting pressure down a file that I'm expecting to open. Because if I trade here, knight there, maybe I can trade off that knight with one of my knights, or maybe like this dark squared bishop, and kind of open up this file. But it's a mistake because that knight can just hop in there, and then it's got a pretty good square. This is kind of what it's pressuring, and c takes d4, e takes d4, and the queen is just going to be supporting any potential trades in the center. So it's really just not the pressure that I was hoping it was going to be. So rook e8's a mistake. Bishop b1 is a miss because you could have hopped your knight in there and just been a bit more winning. Right now it's a little bit back to even. c4 is a miss. c4 would have rather knight e4 hopping in there. So let's see what it would have happened. Probably, all right, let's see. g3, bishop g6. I probably wouldn't have played that move. I probably would have hopped my knight in there. But I'm betting that's a miss because this knight would then be able to hop in there and be pretty well supported. So bishop there is what it likes. Rook there, queen there. Just envisioning some trades in the center. Says the game's about even, so it's a miss, but I think I'd probably have to let this run at a bit longer depth for it to really be at least kind of game swaying on my level. Queen c2, getting this battery ready, looking to eventually trade off both of these knights, and I'll have no protection on h7. I stick my knight in the center, knight e4, looking to just kind of blunt that battery as best I can. Trade off here, get my knight there, and maybe like double stack my rooks in the future. So I was hoping to just kind of blunt that battery as best I can. He goes bishop g3, just looking to not trade bishops, because at this point, this bishop has a pretty strong diagonal, and if this knight is going to hop in there, it can support it pretty well. And if I trade it off with that knight, one, you trade off, you're going to get mated, but two, you trade off, you could take back with the f pawn, and then that rook is just going to be wide open staring at my king. So better to keep that bishop at this point in the game. Knight d to f6. This isn't an accuracy because this knight can hop in there, and then I don't really have anything that can test that square. So it's just a positional mistake, but not like a massive blunder. So she spots it, she takes advantage of it. The knight hops to e5. This does two things. One, the knight can be better positioned on e5. It's looking at a lot of squares in my position. Then also my knight can get kicked away pretty easily with f3. So anytime you kind of throw a knight into your opponent's position, you got to be aware not only for trades that can happen, but also just pawn pushes that can just bully your knight kind of out of position. So I play a6, hoping to just kind of prevent any knight moves there, and eventually push here and up there, trying to kind of invite that trade a bit. Bishop h4. I wasn't sure exactly what she was thinking with going bishop h4. I'm not sure if she was looking to kind of push here and just hang on to the dark squared bishop while trying to avoid that trade. If she was looking to go there and then push, that's fine. But I mean, I think I'd probably be able to defend in some way. So I wasn't exactly sure what she was looking to do, but regardless, white still has a bit of an edge here. b5, just looking to advance on the queen side, looking to kind of bully this knight away, or at least encourage this trade and take back with a pawn. So that was kind of my thinking, was start expanding on the queen side. She plays f3, so my knight's got to go. My knight's got to go somewhere. I trade off the c3 knight. So my thinking was, you're going to take back with the pawn. You're going to trade. You're going to go here. I move my king. And then I should be able to kind of escape my king out of danger some way. I didn't think the center was going to open terribly. I didn't think there was going to be any mating issues that I have to worry about. So I thought, let me kind of make this trade, and then I'll kind of look to scurry my king out of here in some way. I knew I was worse here, but I thought, let me try to not get checkmated. That was my goal at this point. So here's the first mistake, the first real mistake that she makes. She takes this with the bishop. She takes this knight with the bishop. That immediately opens the queen and bishop battery. However, this knight is still in her position, and I can just take this bishop. So I think she might have either miscalculated or just not calculated, this line of, I don't have to take this bishop back. I can just take this bishop with my knight, and then her battery is completely gone, and her attack just fizzles out completely. So that's exactly what I do. I take the bishop on b1, and if you continue the trade, then we're just fine. And my position is better because my pawns on the queen side are going to be advancing down the board. This knight is in my position, but that's really the only piece that she has in the attack. And any squares that it's going to be attacking are pretty well defended. So I thought, I knew this is kind of where the tides turned, because I thought the only attack she had going is now completely fizzled out and blunted. And my king is much, much safer now that it doesn't have a kind of cannon staring down at it. So we trade off, and the material's even, but my position I knew was much better. Her king had some weaknesses along the dark squares that I could take advantage of with my queen, even though I didn't have a dark squared bishop. Her knight is pretty well placed in my position, but it's just not going to be attacking anything. There's just not really going to be any attacks that she's going to be able to get going anytime soon before I start pushing my pawns down the board and make some trades in my favor. So I knew I was better. I just had to kind of keep the pressure on. I play a5. It liked f6, just kind of kicking this knight away. I didn't want to let the knight hop in there. I'm sure it wouldn't have been terrible, but I was thinking, let me just kind of get my pawns down the board. a5 is an inaccuracy, but black is still better here. e4. I'm not sure exactly what she was thinking with e4, if she just wanted to kind of solidify this pawn chain, or if she wanted to try to chip away at my center, because I have this pretty strong center here. But I really wasn't worried about it. I wasn't going to take it, because then she has two pawns in the center and her rook's open. I was hoping she would take me so that I can take back with my bishop, and her rook would still be kind of closed off, so this knight would have nothing kind of going for it. So I wasn't sure exactly why she played e4, but I knew that really only helped my position, and I can just kind of keep going down the board. So I just take more space on the queen side. She maneuvers her piece. I get my queen just to support this pawn in the center and get off any any files that rooks might be kind of maneuvering to next. It likes c3 best, and I wasn't too sure about like b takes and b takes. I thought I was just missing something, but let's see what the engine thinks. So c3 is best. B takes c3. D takes e4. Let's say there. And then, oh, then my rook's open. Oh, I didn't see that. My rook, and then my rook is staring right there. It could put a lot of pressure on the queen. Let's just say there. And, I don't know. Maybe just taking the bishop? Or taking the pawn? Yeah, bishop takes. Oh, wow, black is much better. I did not see that in the game. So queen d6 at an accuracy just because I could have opened up this side of the board, got my pawns a bit further, got my rooks activated, and there wouldn't have been a real attack going there, and I would have been able to capture another pawn in the center. So queen f2, I think she was just looking to put some pressure on my f7 square, but I wasn't too worried because I was trying not to open up this file if I could avoid it. Later in the game, it does open up, but I was trying to not let this knight kind of find any use or any purpose. Right now, it's more just a thorn in my side, but it's not really doing anything unless this file's open up. Then it gets kind of tricky. So I play a6, looking to kind of get a tempo of c3 and trading off for that rook while my queen protects those two squares that my bishop, or this square that my bishop was protecting. It really wants me to kick this knight away, and looking back, I do see that that's kind of better as this queen and rook are on a bit of a battery, but I just didn't prioritize it in the game. I didn't want this knight to hop in there and become an issue. But, oh, now it actually likes opening. So let's see what happens. Let's see what the engine likes. Rook there. I'll probably just, yeah, take. And then black is just crushing. Wow. So I think I could have calculated a bit better, but I didn't like the idea of this knight coming there, but I think it was a bit of a paper tiger, and there wasn't any kind of anything there in the attack. So queen h4. I thought she was looking to keep the queen on this file and open things, and then kind of barrel down on my king. I'm not sure why she went there, if she was looking to kind of eventually go here, and I didn't know. I didn't see what the purpose of that was. So I was just a little bit kind of perplexed. It's a mistake because it still allows c3 and a discovered attack there, but I saw that move in the game, and I didn't know exactly what she was thinking. So that's just a positional mistake that doesn't really do anything and doesn't stop the attack that I have going. So I play c3. Black is now -3.5. Black is better. Black is -4 even. So I was doing much better. I had the better position, and it was basically a goal of not blowing the lead, and just kind of converting a winning position to a one endgame. So she goes queen h5. Again, I wasn't sure what she was doing. She wasn't in any time trouble, so I didn't know what her goal was. I really didn't. So I just continued my plan. I took a second to just solidify f8 because obviously now she's attacking there. But in my head, I was like, well, let me just kind of push this pawn. I could always trade that off. So rook f2 is a mistake because it just lets me push this pawn even deeper into the position. But here, I'm not sure why I took on d4. I should have just pushed there. I knew if I pushed there, you would have just gone there. But I thought, like, that's got to be a winning, position to have that pawn in. So let's see what it says. Because this I didn't look at too much yet. He takes. Oh. Yeah, my queen's open. That's what I see. The rook f2, it wants d takes to open up my queen to here. So actually, back in the game, that actually ends up happening. Rook f2, instead of pushing, I took. And now my queen has this kind of vision on the d4 pawn. So to go further into the game, f takes e4 is a mistake. I could play c2. He has to block with his rook. And now my queen, I take here, and I'm pinning this rook to the king. So this is a major, major weakness because you have no attack here because anything you take with the queen, you're just losing it. This rook, if you move your king, you're just losing your rook. And if you take here, you're still losing a rook. This knight is putting, this queen is putting pressure on the knight. If you double stack here, your rook is still pinned, and I can promote this pawn and force you to lose your rook. So this was a pretty big weakening mistake, letting me trade in the center. But you're going to see, even though I'm -6 right now, I end up actually blundering a couple times. And she ends up in a winning position, but we'll continue. So knight f7. This is kind of the critical move, and you see why I blunder with rook c5. So I knew her plan was to give me a check here. I knew she wanted to take there. It was going to be knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes. You're putting pressure on my bishop. You can give me a check here. So I knew that's what the plan was, but I just completely miscalculated. I was thinking knight here, maybe like I just move here, and then I can deliver like a check there, and but I was like, I don't know. I didn't see what happens after I take there, or if I don't take and then I just lose a pawn, and it's a discovered check. If I go here, if it's knight there, king there, I just get I just get checked again. So I just didn't see it. I thought there, if I move there, discover check, and I'm losing my queen. So I was like, it doesn't make sense. But I wanted to kind of maintain this rook and queen vision, but I just didn't see a way to do it. So second to that, I thought, okay, well, let me take, and then you're going to give me a check. And I just didn't see what to do after. We're going to get into that. You can block with the queen, and he'll take the bishop, but I just didn't see what the plan was. So let's look. Actually, let me. What does it want? No, not there. Let me go back. There. Yeah, that was it. So the engine wants queen e3. I did not see this in any way, shape, or form, but it makes total sense. So the knight can't go there because I would take with the queen. I'm putting pressure on this rook, and let's just say you go there. I think I can promote, and I should just be winning. You go there, there, and black is just totally winning. I did not in any universe see queen e3. That was just not on my radar at all. So I was completely winning, and then I just didn't even consider that move. So I just didn't get the idea at all. I play rook c5, thinking, let me counterattack this queen. Thinking, if you take, maybe I go here, and then there's no discovered. I was just calculating wrong. There's no discovered because I was thinking, I could take the queen, but I can't because obviously that would be blocked. So knight h6. It's a brilliant move because it completely takes advantage of my blunder and just equalizes the game. So knight h6, I take, because there was really no other option. Queen g6, I did not consider, even though I thought about it earlier, I did not consider bringing the queen back, which I think is the best move. Yeah, queen g7. I did not even consider this. At this point, I knew I went from I had a winning position to, oh my god, I might be losing, and I just completely stopped thinking straight. So queen g6, which is what I was thinking, and then I thought, I gotta just get my king out of the way, because I didn't know what else to do. I just didn't see the queen g7 move. So queen takes h6. This rook can't take, but I can shuffle my king back. You can take my rook. I'm now losing. Not only did I blunder, a winning position to a drawn position, an equal position, I blundered into a losing position. So I blunder a rook for absolutely nothing. More shuffling of my king, and he forces the trade. Now, here I thought there's got to be a way for me to keep this pawn and force a promotion. There's got to be some way, or at least force an exchange of my bishop for rook. I knew I was losing and I was down material, but I thought there's got to be a way that I can use this pawn to make it back to equal. So bishop d3, putting pressure here and here. She goes rook f5, looking to force the trade of rooks. When you're down, you want to keep material on the board, so you want to avoid trades if you can, because the less material that's on the board, if you're down, then that's easier for them to win an endgame. So I lose a pawn. I win it back. h3, I envisioned she wanted to try to start like throwing her pawns down the board, but I'm not exactly sure what she was thinking, because I was then going to go here and try to force the exchange. So I thought there's my chance. I thought that had to be a mistake. I have to have an opening here. And that's exactly what I did. I thought there's no way that's a good move. There's got to be something that I can maybe force an exchange, or I can go here and put pressure. There's got to be something. So rook d6, king h2, just getting her king off that checking line with her rook. But it allows rook d1. Rook h5, she's just throwing out a check. It really doesn't do anything. I can just start bringing my king to the center, which is what I would want to do anyway. And here she has to give up her rook for the pawn. So now I'm down pawns, but I have an extra piece. So I thought there's probably a way that I could I can win this if I can kind of, maneuver right, but at least I'm not gonna lose probably. And plus I saw she was getting lower on time, so I thought there's something here. There's got to be something here. So bishop c2, rook c5. I just tucked my bishop away. What would have been better is b3, but I think is it b3? Oh no, maybe it's not. No, it's not b3. Never mind. I think that comes later. So bishop b1, just looking to tuck my bishop away. a3. It's a mistake. Oh, this was where b3 comes in. b3 is here, and then I think I can just block again with my bishop and come and scoop up that pawn. So that's where b3 came in. I ended up just taking. I thought, let me just get pawns off the board and use my extra piece to my advantage. It's a miss because let's go here, here, and now this pawn is kind of forever locked, and he can't attack. He can't protect b2, so I was just going to swing my rook there. I can just swing my rook there. But we'll go back to the game. So b takes a3 and b takes a3. Rook d2. Looking to put some pressure on that pawn. She advances to a4, but I'm not really worried because I can always just swing back here. Bishop e4. A check doesn't do anything. I can just maneuver my king up, which I want to do anyway. In the endgame, you want to get your king to the center. Attacking my bishop. Just counterattack the rook. Looking to maybe go there. I wasn't too sure. Now that this bishop is off this diagonal, let me just try to scoop up this pawn. She just lost a pawn for I think, for no good reason. I'm not sure exactly what she was thinking. She has 38 seconds, so she's not in, 100% time trouble, but she's low on time. I move my king out of the way of the pin. She advances a pawn, but I just attack her rook. She pins my bishop. I get my bishop out of the way. She gets her king a little closer. Get my bishop well off to the side of the board. Just kind of looking to have it come into play when it needs to. Just more maneuvering. A check. Attacking my bishop. Just more check. Or more attacks. Just maneuvering. I positioned my king here, hoping to just kind of slide it in there if her king ever went off that line. More maneuvering. Now she's definitely in time trouble. Here. It's even. I'm just kind of trying to flag her at this point. But there's a good blunder where I can give a check and then bring my rook back, and I should be able to get, something going. Something you didn't want to fall for was bringing the rook back here, thinking a discovered attack, and you swing your rook over and attack, because her rook has vision to my bishop, so she would just attack the bishop. Then it'd be drawn. I think in time trouble, she just accidentally kind of took, but she ended up timing out. But there's a pretty wild game in a little bit of it, where I was completely winning, then blunder twice to her completely winning, and then she blundered to an even game, and then got into time trouble and lost. So this is a pretty good game of a lot of theory in the beginning, where Queen's Gambit declined, and then some middle game maneuvering that led to some tactics that I missed, and just blunders that I made, and going from a 1 position to an even to a lost back to a 1. Just a pretty wild game, but I saw some pawn pushes down the board, putting some pressure down the queen's side. Once the kind of pressure was relieved off my king, and that seemed to be the best plan, but I just wasn't able to capitalize on it fully because I just made some blunders and ended up kind of losing my edge. Thankfully, she got into some time trouble again, and what was a drawn game I was able to kind of flag her and win. But definitely a good game, a high-level game against a high-level opponent, women's Fide master. So a lot to take away, a lot to kind of, learn about converting a winning position to a 1 position. But overall, a good game. I'll see you guys in the next one.